morning, ladies and gentlemen. Slight confusion there. I haven't morphed into David Chalm. That would be an honour and a privilege. And I don't think he's morphed into me. For some reason, the photograph got mixed up. Look, I'm extremely honoured and privileged and with great pleasure to be here. And thank you, Vasilisa, for the invitation to deliver this keynote presentation on this amazing confluence of the idea of blockchain and crypto, and if we may say digital technologies generally, interfacing and intersecting with democracy. I think there's an old saying that there's nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. And here we have two powerful ideas: digital democracy meeting digital capitalism. And when those two, I think Ghostbusters, they said you mustn't cross the streams. Here we are deliberately crossing the streams, and who knows what amazing, awesome things might happen. Certainly one of them in my mind is the topic of my presentation, to do with reinventing the good governance of capitalism, which I suggest as a proposition. It means the good governance of capitalism means the reboring, the reinventing of capitalism to make it better. Now, when governance is considered and talked about, we who are privileged to be citizens and voters in a westernized, liberal, capitalistic, representative parliamentary democracy, or variants thereof, probably immediately think equally of two distinct types of governance. Government, the system of democratic governance of countries and peoples, exemplified by and operating within nation-states with universal plebiscite, and a regulation, that's to say the system of governance of corporations, of private capital, of the free market, by way of both the internal responsible, professional and skilled management of companies and firms and enterprises, mainly targeted to maximize profit for the shareholders, and external supervisory oversight and control by regulators, licensing bodies, competition authorities, ombudsmen and so on, usually under statute, under law. Now, both types of governance, government and regulation, have the dual and sometimes often competing objectives of, on the one hand, encouraging individual organizational and corporate opportunity, energy and enterprise to secure economic growth, to continue and enhance the established benefits of capitalism, the most good for the most people, and on the other, to rein in and correct the worst excesses of the unbridled greed, corruption, and monopolistic market manipulation to which capitalism, sadly, seems to be inherently prone. On those assumptions, I submit that both of these meanings and understandings of governance implicitly include the hope, the aspiration, that governance should be good governance. But what do we mean by good in this context? Well, let's agree, can we, that it should include, at a minimum, governance that strives to recognize, espouse and enshrine, deliver and secure the fundamental principles of individual freedom and of defending human rights. And may we also agree that it also includes further freedoms and rights that are personal, social, organizational, financial. For example, freedoms and rights of expression, of aspiration, of belief, of competition, of opportunity, of ideas, of entrepreneurship, of disruption, of representation, of employment, of relationships, of investment, of inclusivity, of care, of well-being, of safety, of life itself, and so on. You can add to the list, I'm sure. Well, does current governance measure up to being good governance? I do submit that our present systems of governance, both meanings, are now irreparably broken. They're morbidly polarized, they're massively inequitable, they're wickedly divisive, inefficiently confrontational, ontologically corrupt, inadequately responsive, and overall, simply unfit for purpose. Above all, these existing traditional systems of governance are being revealed as simply no longer right for the digital age. We might say they're outdated. Yesterday's snail-mail democracy and ossified regulation for today's digitalized, decentralized, instant messaging, social media age. If we want governance to be good governance, we must therefore digitally reinvent it. Future good reinvented governance, I submit, needs urgently and practically to take into account new ideas for instant, continuous, networked, participative democracy, and for evolving a species of tokenized, dramatically increased, sharing and growing, inclusively beneficial capitalism, in which all are winners. And it seems to me that will be delivered through software-driven information and communications technologies, devices and systems, of which this particular conference focus is blockchain and the rich spectrum of potential use cases. They are obviously notable examples thereof. So these ideas for good governance arise and are implemented through software, through algorithms. And this is the key point. We are moving to a future for humanity which is going to be governed by algorithms. At the moment, implemented chiefly in computer software, but who knows how in the future. These little things called algorithms, big things called algorithms, they're rapidly and clearly emerging as the most powerful and ubiquitous, complex things, scientific artifacts that humanity and societies have ever so far conceived of and delivered. The cognitive capability to deal with algorithms, to program them, to deliver them, is at a level that's given only to probably about 5% of humanity. But that's where the world is heading, to be governed by algorithms. And I'm just going to briefly share with you a couple of my ideas that come under this general umbrella. I published several papers on this in the last 2 or 3 years, and I understand my presentation will be on the Huova app by the end of the day, so you can get the full references there. But two in particular dealt with direct government by algorithm, and what I call, or GBA for short, and what I call CapShare, which is my new envisioning of a revised capitalism which reinvents it from the inside and makes it inclusive for all and not just for the few. So I noted that government by algorithm, GBA, is happening anyway. Governments are increasingly using algorithmic techniques to govern in many different ways, at central government level, at local government level. But note that nowhere have I seen a manifesto from any political party that says that's what they're going to do. And largely, government by algorithm has no democratic mandate. My insight is that we can do away with the politicians, ladies and gentlemen. If we're going to be governing by algorithm, then we want people who understand algorithms and are cognitively competent to deal with them, in charge of them on behalf of the people. And that does not, sadly, include most politicians. It's a matter of fact that most politicians have never coded a single line of software in their life. And that has got to be the minimum entry requirement to want to govern a country, is that you know how to write software, you know how to define an algorithm, you know how to deliver software, maintain it, test it, and modify it in respect of requirements, which are the requirements of the people that you are trying to govern. So we had to put in a better mechanism than elected politicians. And I put forward the idea of direct government by algorithm. And I've even put forward the outlines of a manifesto in my latest paper on that, one of whose promises will be, following Jean-Jacques Rousseau's idea, the social compact, which we still hold dear to in democracies, a new algorithmic trust compact with the people. The people need to get the algorithms they need to be governed and that they deserve, and they need to have a way of their trust in those algorithms be auditable and demonstrated and monitored by independent people who are not politicians but are acting directly on behalf of the people who want the algorithms and can help design and build them, actually, and own them. That's the other thing. So all of that is in my idea for this new political party. Unfortunately, one has to start off with a political party in order to get rid of political parties as a manifesto pledge, which I've christened the Cyborg, Algorithm and Robot Party, or CARP for short, which makes quite a nice acronym in English, because CARP, as you know, is a verb to mean to complain or to be a bit anti about everything, which this new party would obviously need to be. The second angle I've explored in recent papers, and I gave a presentation on another conference here in Barcelona yesterday, describing the proposition that Web 3.0, this is Sir Tim Berners-Lee's Web Space 3.0, to be distinguished from Web 3, which is a much later blockchain-only concept, does not necessarily rely on blockchain for implementation. And I personally have developed and invented an app that gives you direct peer-to-peer data sharing and control over your personal data, which does not require blockchain, or indeed connection to any network. It is truly non-centralized and resides on private data pods, which could be your mobile phone or your laptop or whatever, maybe even other devices in the future. Of course, adding the blockchain element, one can then tokenize the activity, and I have this concept, it's called Zycme, by the way, the app. I have the concept of a Zyc token, so we have Zyc economics, where the activity of sharing means that you earn tokens. So the community accumulates the tokens of the community, which become valuable and can be used as a utility token within the community. That way, we get my other great invention and idea, which is CapShare, which is a new version of capitalism, which every time customers, I haven't got time to go into it here today, I've only got about a minute left. When customers take part in economic activity, they themselves should benefit from the overall increase in the wealth of that activity. And my CapShare mechanism, which we can now do via tokenized capitalism, effectively, will deliver that. So that's, I hope, giving you a very quick and teasing flavor, and I suggest you may be having some questions about it, which basically say how exactly would the Zyc token, CapShare, and direct government by algorithm reinvent traditional industrial capitalism? Would it actually deliver the good governance of capitalism? Can it really reinvent capitalism to make it better, more fit for purpose, to produce a new variant in which all are winners, by reboring capitalism itself from the inside, refashioning it from the inside? I'd be delighted to try and answer that privately, because we've run out of time now. Any other questions you may have during the conference, and maybe that would help you to answer my question: will you join me on the Zyc token CapShare direct GBA road to good governance, ladies and gentlemen? I thank you for listening and your attention, and I will hope to talk with you later during the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.